Please take your seats. We are now on live video and our meeting will start shortly. Please remember to adjust your microphones and speak into them so you can be heard on our broadcast for the viewers at home. We will begin in a minute. Welcome everyone to the July 9th, 2024 City of Broussard Council meeting. Please silence your cell phones, and if anyone from the audience would like to make a comment on an item listed on our agenda, please fill out a blue card located in the back of the room and turn it into our city clerk. Each speaker will be given a maximum of 3 minutes. Please rise for the pledge. Please welcome Pastor Weldon Moak from First Baptist Church of Broussard to lead our prayer.
Let's pray together. Our Heavenly Father, we come here this evening with thankful hearts for the opportunity as we've just celebrated another anniversary of our nation and of freedom. And we thank you for the opportunity to live in this free land and to have a city that is free and protected. And we pray that your blessings will continue to fall upon the city of Broussard and its leadership and everyone who is a citizen here. Protect us, guide us, and Lord, give us wisdom and insight that we can prosper and do the best for this city and its citizens and also for you and your glory. We ask your blessing in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Item 2.1, acceptance of the minutes of the June 26th regular meeting and the June 26th public hearing. Do we have a motion to accept?
Hold on. The mics are not working. More, the mics are not working.
Mine's working.
Cody's is
There they go.
not.
Oh, there it is.
It is, okay.
Second.
We have a approval and a second. The minutes for both meetings were supplied in the council's packet. Tina, do you have public comment?
No public comment.
Council discussion?
District 1? Yes. District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4? Yes. District 6?
Yay.
Motion approved.
Item 3.1, approval of the May 2024 financial report. Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll move.
The financials were sent to the council by email and maybe also in the packet. The report for the month of May is that our collections were 3% higher than the same time in 23, but 16% higher than the same time in 22. May numbers are trending right at our budget projections, and overall our budget is 2% ahead of our budget so far this year. Tina, do you have public comment?
No public comment.
Council discussion?
District 2?
Yes.
District 3?
Yes.
District 4?
Yes.
District 6?
Yay.
District 1? Yes. Motion approved.
Other business. Item 4.1, Mr. Josh Burrell, update on capital outlay request for the city of Broussard. Welcome, Josh.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, council members. I provided a handout to everyone at the table. Before I begin, my name is Josh Burrell. I'm the owner and operator of State Capital Solutions. I am a government relations state lobbyist in Louisiana. I have about 20 years of experience at the Capitol and about 12 years experience as a lobbyist in Baton Rouge. Before I begin and get into the Capitol outlay, I just wanted to, let everyone know that this city and our parish are very well represented in Baton Rouge with Senator Miguez, Senator Cusson, Representative Carlson, and Representative Boyer. They provide an excellent job in Baton Rouge for the city and for the parish. We definitely should be proud of who we have representing us. A couple of the items on your capital outlay sheet. These are the projects that the city of Broussard, the mayor, and the council applied for in Baton Rouge for capital outlay. In the P1 and P5 columns, those are the projects as is listed in the capital outlay budget that was signed this year by Governor Landry. P1 is cash money. I'm sure some of y'all may know that, but if not, P1 and HB2 means that if bond approves these projects, then the city of Broussard will receive those dollars in cash from the state. P5 is trailing money that myself and the city of Broussard, along with our representatives, will try to get moved up in the following years as the projects develop and mature. So the P5 dollars are important to have in place as well, so we can finish out the project and have those dollars come behind the P1 dollars that are approved. On the Lake Talon Road sewer improvements, we did not receive any P1 money, but the good thing about Lake Talon this year, we were able to receive cash of $250,000 in HB 782, which is a supplemental bill that is passed typically in the legislature to fund projects in and around our state. So that $250,000 was very important to get the project run out, because I believe y'all have already started that project going on. So
We're at the tail end of that project. I would assume we're pretty close to substantial completion on that project, and so it's a great help to us to have some sort of support from the state on that.
Good. So these are the projects that were passed this year. I spoke to Taylor Barra a couple of weeks ago. It looks like Bond Commission will be meeting starting in September to start approving P1 and P5 projects that were passed in HB2. Typically, Bond Commission will meet, they meet once a month, but capital outlay projects will be approved starting in September. So we need to keep an eye out, make sure that, our bond approval continues to happen in the fall for this year. So any questions?
Josh, in years past, there has been some situations where there was so many projects that it was more than the budget would allow. How is that standing this year?
Well, I mean, so they tried to clean that up a few years ago where they didn't pass. They can only pass in HB2 what the state was able to bond out. So that went for about 1 or 2 years, and then after that they started bloating HB2 again, because as politics happen, they may need a vote here and there, and if you dangle a project in front of a representative, then they'll vote for a particular bill that is there. But right now, last year's, they had overfunded HB2 of over $400 million some dollars. So John Bell Edwards, in his final term, he had to cut $400 something million on the project because the state can't bond out that much. Typically, HB2 has about $350 million in capital outlay projects, and they overfunded to the tune of $800 something million. But a lot of that is because they need votes here and there on particular bills that are out there. But yes, every year, unfortunately, they do, overblow. I mean, put too much money in HB2, and it's us that have to go and make sure that we continue to stay in there through Bond Commission.
Exactly, that the bond commission, I mean, if they have to cut some money somewhere, we
Yeah.
have to protect our projects.
Yes, that's right. Yep.
Okay, I hope it's not very light. Hopefully it's not too
Yes.
close.
But, when you have good leadership as such as Senator Miguez fighting for us, he'll make sure that, and myself will make sure that we, continue to get into Bond Commission. If not, if you don't get approved, you gotta go back to next year, next year's HB two to hopefully win approval again on that particular project. But HB 782, $250,000, that needs no bond commission approval. That's cash money coming from, the treasury. So they should, now that all the bills have been signed and July 1 has passed, the new budget has taken place for the state. The Treasury Department should be reaching out to you, Department of Revenue should be reaching out to you, informing you, hey, you have $250,000 that was approved in this year's session. They'll probably have you fill out information and a document to receive your money. Yeah. Well, if you don't hear anything in the next, couple of weeks, make sure we, we're tugging on them and reaching out to them. Yeah. Yeah. That's all I got.
Thank you
Yeah.
very much.
Thank y'all too. Thank y'all
Appreciate
so
you.
much for hiring me. Appreciate it.
Item 4.2 under other business, PIAL rating report for the city. Chief Champagne is the leader of the fire department, and our presenter tonight, or maybe Deputy Chief Justin Denies is going to present for us? Okay, thank you. So if the reason for the line item is that in the past few days, Broussard has received word that our PIL rating has improved to a 2, and that's the Property Insurance Association of Louisiana, and there's a whole bunch of reasons why it's improved, and the fire department is an enormous part of that, so please.
Thank you, Mayor, and good evening, everyone. It's our pleasure to come up here tonight and share the rating results with all of you. Everybody in this room had some part in it. We can't do it alone. It's a team effort. We've worked very hard with the city administration, with you as the council, the water department and Mel. We can't do it without them. We can only do what we can do, but it takes everybody to accomplish this goal. So, we're pretty excited about this opportunity. When I became chief, we were a class 5 15 years ago, and my goal was to become a 3. So, and then when we became a 3, I'm like, okay, our goal is to become a 2, and we've accomplished it. So together. So without further ado, Chief Denies has a little presentation that we put together to explain why these things happen and where we scored points at and so forth. Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Mayor, Council. Quick agenda. We're going to run through operations. I'll give you a quick breakdown of where we stand, where our fire department is, how it operates. I'll talk about 2023 real quick. I normally give an annual report just to give you guys an update on how our calls looked, what we look like, what we responded to. I'll talk about the PIL rating results and a quick Q&A session if you guys want it. Ultimately, operations-wise, we have city-funded staffing. You guys provide the budget associated with the city side. We have one full-time secretary, but we operate a part-time fire department. Technically, we operate a full-time fire department with part-time people is what it boils down to. We've got 48 part-time firefighters. Some of them are firefighters in other cities, municipalities. Some of them work outside of the fire industry. They serve 3 24-hour shifts or 4 9-hour shifts Monday to Friday and provide 24-hour fire protection for the city of Broussard. We do have some administrative staffing. We have some chief officers. We have 2 firefighter inspectors, which we'll talk more about once I get to the rating results. We also have a training coordinator and a community outreach person. We supplement that response with volunteers. We have 42 volunteer firefighters. Approximately 20 of those do both part-time, and they also volunteer on their time off. Our volunteer organization is run by a board of directors, a president, vice president, 2 board members, and a secretary or treasurer. We also have a council member and the mayor that sits on our board of directors. And those volunteers, when they're not on the city time, are eligible for pay-per-call. Operations-wise apparatus, we run 4 engines, a ladder truck, a tanker truck, a brush truck, a rescue truck, and some specialty apparatus that include boats, UTVs, our smaller vehicles that you see around town, squad trucks that our inspectors are out doing their inspections in. We respond to medicals, fires, rescues, hazmat, emergencies, public service calls. We do it all. In 2023, the Broussard Fire Department responded to 976 incidents. That was down from 2022, ultimately because we didn't have a storm. Typically, if we have any sort of natural disaster or anything of that nature, our call volume increases, maybe 50 or 100 calls over that time period. Majority of our calls, 497 of those 976 were medical responses. We did run 103 fires, 120 false alarms, and 199 good intent calls, which is smell of smoke, or hazardous wires, or, arcing wires, natural gas detectors, things of that nature going off in residents. Majority of our calls are within the city limits of Broussard, 706 of those calls. You can see the blue on the pie chart, that's all city limits. I broke it down by time of day so you can see ultimately where the money that you fund is going. Over 2/3 of our calls are during the daytime operations between the hours of 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. So when y'all are funding those part-time people to be at the station, those 8 or 9 guys to be at the station during the day, that's why. It's very, very difficult to get a volunteer to leave their full-time job today to respond to an incident. So staffing it is critical to the operations of the city and the fire department as a whole. The next slide is very, very important to me. It has been since Brian took office, and we began working together to make sure that our department continually progressed. This number used to be above 7 minutes. This is your average response time of your first arriving unit in the city limits of Broussard. It's 3 minutes and 47 seconds for all of 2023. That includes a call on the far south side of Broussard, Marteau Lakes, or an area of that, right? Which you'll look at the heat map in a minute, but that's where we stand. 3 minutes and 47 seconds is your average response time for your first arriving unit, which is incredible for a part-time organization. This is the heat map. We talked about this in the past associated with where our incidents are. You can see the station on the bottom is Station 3, and that map continues to grow on the south side of town with the population increase. We continue to have more calls in that area. Downtown, it has always been the hot spot, right? You may have seen a little bit of shade on the exterior. You can see down toward Jonesville where you can see the shades where we respond. But that's what the outside of the city used to look like. Now that Station 3 area has become very, very populated, and it's a very, very high call volume area now. I'll go into the rating. I'll talk about the results, but ultimately the rating's broken down from Class 1 to Class 10. 10 is the worst that you can achieve as a city or as a fire department. Class 1 is the best. It's broken down just about a 10-point scale. And ultimately, anything 90 and more is a Class 1, and so on, moving down the line. It's graded in several categories. Emergency communications accounts for 10%. Majority of that comes from the city of Lafayette. We can't control it. What we can control within this city significantly is the fire department, the water supply, and the additional items, which is community risk reduction. Fire department is worth at least 50 points. You can get bonus associated with that. 15 of those come from personnel. That's just staffing, making sure your personnel that are getting off these trucks have everything they need to do what they need to do. Deployment analysis, the biggest portion of that is response times, making sure you're responding with the correct apparatus, making sure you have the correct apparatus for your city. Training accounts for 9 points of that 50 also. Water supply accounts for 40 points. 30 of those 40 points is the supply system. I'll talk about how we improved that. I'll give Walter and Mel some opportunity to talk about some of the money that was spent in the city and how we improved those numbers through the course of our rating. Additional items, community risk reduction, I'll give you some insight on that. There's a divergence factor, which you'll see at the very end. It levels the playing field associated with fire and water supply. If you have a great fire department and you don't have a water supply within your city, it doesn't matter. You become a Class 10, and vice versa. If your water supply is the best you can have, but you don't have an adequate fire department, you might be an 8 or a 10. So those two things have to balance. You have to dump money into both to continue to be successful. Associated with results, we increased from 4.5 to 5.8 on engine companies. Improving the maintenance of the trucks, continuing to have all pumpers in service. That is huge. You got to make sure those trucks respond to the emergencies in which they called for. A big part of that was funded by this council, the replacement of 2 apparatus, right? We had some aging apparatus. Last rating, we lost 2 points in this category because a truck was not in service. It was in the shop. Nothing we can do about that because it was parked in the shop. It was not running at the time we were rated. Although it ran all year, because it was not there, didn't work. So the funding of those apparatus, keeping us in trucks that are reliable, contributed to this. The next one is the deployment analysis. I talked about improved response time. That increased from 7.5 points to 8.1. That was improved response time. That was improved deployment of higher trained personnel. Ultimately, these personnel that we're hiring, that we're staffing, are fully trained. We continue to train them, which we'll talk about in training. And those guys getting off the truck adds points to your rating deployment analysis. Company personnel increased from 6.17 to 6.35. That is your additional coverage, right? So your personnel directly impact you on company personnel, the 24-hour coverage that this city funds, you guys and gals, I'm sorry, that y'all fund for us. Those 24-hour staffing directly impact that number, but everything you talked about before that, deployment analysis, that's where it falls into. Because those people are able to get off the truck, an adequate truck, and they're able to get to scenes in a much quicker time because they're at the station and we're able to provide that service to our city. For training, it doesn't matter if it's a volunteer firefighter or a full-time firefighter for the city of Lafayette, they're required 18 hours of drill, 192 hours of company training, 6 hours of hazmat, 8 hours of cause and origin, 48 hours of pre-plan. If you become an officer in the organization, it adds an additional 12 hours. Every one of our employees is a driver, that requires an additional 12 hours. That's annually that they have to do to be able to maintain that rating. Next slide will show you training is worth 9 points. We were previously 6.24. We received 8.82 of the 9 points in training. A huge part of that was the training coordinator that the council funded. We funded a training coordinator to ultimately advance the documentation of our fire department, ensure training execution plans, and ensure that we were utilizing every resource to us to continue to train our people and get what we need, both training-wise and rating-wise. We had an increased focus on certifications. David, you've been a part of this council for a long time, and we've talked about Firefighter One. I can tell you today that every one of our employees that are currently employed with the Broussard Fire Department is Firefighter One certified. Right? We have some gaps on the volunteer side. Just last week, we had 2 people that graduated, or 2 weeks ago, I'm sorry, when we left the meeting, we had 2 people that graduated from St. Martin Parish Fire Academy with Firefighter One certifications. So we continue to move in that direction. Facility training. We talk about this a lot. So the way training breaks down, we talked about those 9 points. 35% of that 9 comes from utilization of a training facility. A training facility has requirements that are set forth by PIL. The biggest part of that is having a training tower and having the proper property size to be a certified training facility. We don't have one in the city of Broussard today. So for our people to get their training credit for their facility hours, they have to go to Iberia Parish Fire Protection District 1, Lafayette Fire Department, or the St. Martin Parish Fire District. We were previously 4.25 out of the 35 available. This rating, we went to 31.67 points because our training coordinator has scheduled these people and these facilities have allowed us to do that. What it does is, on the downfall, is it takes our people out of our city to be able to go to these trainings. So you'll hear from us over the course of the next 5 years about developing a plan for a training facility within the city of Broussard to continue to move us forward. If we can get our guys and our gals in a training facility in the city, then ultimately we get all of these points and we don't go anywhere. Your coverage is not sacrificed at all, ever, because they're training in the city. If they get something, they can get on the truck and respond. Water supply ultimately is 30 points. 16.78 was our previous number. We upped it to 22.71. We had an additional some above ground storage tanks. We had the capabilities to activate the remote booster pumps, which you can have a booster pump in line all day. If we can't remotely activate that in case of a fire, it doesn't matter. You can't test your hydrants with that pump on. Looping of water lines in several of our deficient fire flow areas, and installation of an 8-inch water meter in place of a 4-inch meter on Hart to Farm. Mel, Walter, if you guys want to talk some additional things that we've done and the money we spent on the water side, please feel free.
So I mean, in the last, during the last term, you remember buying fire trucks and you remember these things because they're big items. But what those of you that were here in the last term may not remember is that y'all funded about $4.5 million worth of improvements to the water system that were implemented. And some of that was improvements to the some ground storage, these remote pumps. That, by the way, Mel was fighting that during the drought a couple of years ago. All of this was going on at the same time. So, and what Chief and I said is true. if the parts of this aren't in balance, it doesn't matter. You can't fight a fire without water, and you can't fight a fire without firemen. So you need both components. So we spent a good bit of money on our water system to date. And I'm just going to remind y'all that y'all just recently approved a contract to do some hydrogeologic modeling, which is going to tell us where we can add more water wells in the city. We have 2 sites. The big question is, how deep do you go? And these people are going to help us come to that. You just funded a meeting or so ago, water tower rehabs. We're due to rehabilitate both of our water towers. Josh mentioned that we have a lot of our capital outlay right now requests are, and some of it, and I don't want to get too deep in the weeds about priority 1, priority 5, but we have some priority 1 money to begin work on a proposed ground storage tank, potential water well, that it's been funded where we can do the engineering work. So the thing is, the timeline to get a new fire truck is pretty short. Some of these projects take several years to roll out. By the time we go through design, we're waiting for the engineers to do the underground water modeling before we can, move on to the next step. So it takes a little longer. Right now, I feel like, and if everybody will remember, a year or so ago, we were going through a drought. LUS was doing some improvements on their system. We had reduced system pressures. It was causing us all kind of problems. All that spurred us to do is make us a little bit more self-reliant. That's why we're looking at some of these other things. Now LUS they actually improved their system, and I think things are going quite well, and Mel can speak to that. But Mel also came up with some really innovative, water system things that have made a big difference. So I guess the struggle continues, because I feel like our system right now is in pretty good shape for where we are. I think it's in really good shape for where we are, but we're growing. So we have to stay ahead of that growth. And the biggest need that I see personally is we need more storage capacity. And that's kind of mostly what we're looking at more, but that's the biggest thing in my mind. But we got to do all these other things, so.
Yeah, as Walter said, some things are done very easily, some things not so much. Some things take, take quite a bit of time. The main thing that I think helps us a lot as far as fire protection, we have advanced our system quite a bit as far as technology. We've installed SCADA on our entire water system. That gives us the capability, if Justin calls me at 2:00 in the morning, we got a fire, we need more water, I pick up this thing and I can boost the water system by simply touching a button on my phone. And I think that's invaluable. It helps out as far as water volume, water pressure. Like Walter said, we're growing. We need to continue to stay vigilant and stay diligent as far as growing our system to grow with our city. And you guys have been very instrumental in helping as far as funding what we need to do. Now, there's always more projects than there is money, so we have to prioritize what we do. But I think we've done a very good job with y'all's help to move forward and advance our system. And it's all about teamwork. We have a wonderful team, fire, administration, public works. We all work together. And I think it's a testament to our fire rating being advanced.
And Mel will get those 2:00 in the morning calls, and there's things he can do. But I just want to mention, LUS is a pretty good partner too, because he'll call them, they can help us. So all this, what we're trying to do, and Justin mentioned it, we're upsizing some meters where we're interconnecting to LUS, making them higher capacity. Well, if you're trying to get more water through a smaller hole, it doesn't help as much. So we've improved the size of these master meters, where when we ask for it, we get a little bit more bang for the buck, because we have bigger pipes.
Yeah, absolutely. LUS has been a tremendous partner when it comes to fire protection and just water volume in general. If we get in a bind and we need more water, they've been able to help us going forward.
What you said about growth, what you both said about growth is very accurate. I think our current water supplies we're fine for three to 5 years, but at the rate Broussard is growing, we have to stay ahead of it now. Same thing with the fire department, the new facility that they're in, the ability to build a training grounds. They have acreage now where they can do that. The fire station that we're planning on Highway 90 to support that Broussard in that area. All of that is really important for us to be able to sustain the quick growth that we've been enjoying. So LUS has been a great partner, but redundancy is key in water systems. So we need to be part of the solution, not just a user of their water, but if they get in a bind, we can send it back to them. We have done that a few times in the past. And the drought really kind of exposed that redundancy is the answer and storage is the answer, because you never know what disaster might hit you, and we've got to be ahead of that curve. So, but congratulations to the fire department. It's a phenomenal improvement. At one time, we didn't think it was possible for Broussard to get to a 2, and here we are today. And congratulations to both our engineering group and Mel and his team. Very good ideas, always practical engineering where we're trying to stretch the dollar so we can do more projects. You know, a lot of that work is not fancy, but it's effective and it works for us. I mean, we are the only, in Lafayette Parish, we are the only city, exclude us and the city of Lafayette, that can say we are a 2.
Yeah, and Lafayette's a full-time organization with hundreds of full-time firemen, right? So we're doing that part-time with part-time people. You're getting full-time service with part-time people. I'll add 2 things on water supply before I move on. Fire hydrants, particularly, we increased 1 full point to the bottom line on fire hydrants just by the flushing and maintenance that's happening for the water department. We're documenting that properly with our new fireworks software that the council funded for us to get in that boat. Mel's team has an iPad. They're able to input this as they go. They're testing according to the American Water Works specs, or they're flushing according to the American Water Works specs. Our team behind them has a hydro testing program that's been implemented, so we're getting full credit on fire hydrants that we should be. We also added an additional 0.5 point by implementing a digital tracking or a digital electronic hydrant data location system, GPS in every single fire hydrant in the city, which there are thousands of them. We had right over 1,000 hydrants. But you can see from that map, every single hydrant has our guys can pull this up in the truck, look at the hydrant, look at the location of the incident when responding so they can see where their closest hydrant is. The two other things I want to make sure I talk about before I get to the final results. Fire prevention, we increased from 0 points to 1.87 out of 2.2. That's directly to the bottom line of this rating. That was the implementation of the Fire Prevention Bureau, which Chief Champagne and myself and Chief Mouton have come up, and we had several discussions about the implementation of the Fire Prevention Bureau, the training of our inspectors by the State Fire Marshal's Office, for them to go out and be able to hit our businesses and do safety checks on our businesses, ultimately making our businesses safer, right? If you go to a business today and that door is blocked, the safety exit's blocked, but our inspector goes tomorrow, guess what's going to happen the following day? All that's moved. So ultimately, every single business in our city is being hit by 3 inspectors annually for a pre-planned inspection and a safety inspection associated with fire code to make our businesses safer and to earn these points. The second thing we added, or third position we added, we talked about training officer, we talked about these inspectors. We also added a community outreach coordinator, which increased our fire prevention, our public education from 0.97 to 1.1. That's out in the public, providing public service, providing public safety, fire extinguisher prop, being involved in these schools, being involved in everything associated with public safety in our city. That's part of this rating. Ultimately, summary results. 9.22 in emergency communications, 36.74 in fire, 1.89 operational considerations, 32.71 in water supply, 0.9 in divergence, which is great. Ultimately, we're saying that we're within 1 point for water supply and fire. We're earning our credit accordingly. Electronic fire data, we talked about that. That gave us 0.5. Our total was 84.01. An 80 is a class 2. So we are 84.01. We're 4 points over that borderline. So effective August 1st, anybody within the city limits is going to receive a class 2 fire rating. For a city of part-time employees, right, that's providing this service, a water department the size of Mills, it's incredible. So thank you all, not only for having us tonight, but the support throughout this. We can't do it without funding, right? We can't do it without the support of the council, the support of the mayor, the support of the administration, the support of Mel and his team. We can't do it. It's not just the fire department. It's not just us getting on that truck and riding out every day to go put out a fire. There's a whole lot of behind the scenes things that happens to make this reality, and it takes all of us to be able to do it. So appreciate y'all. Thank you very much, and looking forward to the next 5 years. Yep.
You know, that there's one other thing that our fire department does that doesn't score any points on this rating, and it's always appearing at any community outreach that we do, whether it's a blood drive, an Easter egg hunt, going, whatever. The fire department is consistently there with many of us from the city, and it supports the community. And it's not just our firemen and women that are there. It's their spouses, it's their kids, and it truly helps Broussard to stay a family-oriented community. So thank you for that and having that kind of culture in your department. Tina, do you have public comment? That is the last item on our agenda unless there is comments from the council. Thank you all for joining us for our meeting tonight.